What's up, everybody? Over the last few days, there's been a lot of court documents that have been dropped and some body cam footage, things of that nature. Along with those documents was a three-page motion to compel discovery that was created by the defense team and kind of lining out what it is that the prosecution has failed to give to the defense and as part of discovery. So we're going to go through that document and go through what those pieces of evidence that they're requesting that the prosecution has yet to turn over, what it is they're hiding, so to speak. But before we get into it, I want to remind you guys of our partnership with DataSeal. If you have concerns about your personal information, whether it's your name, address, phone number, religious preference, voting preference, things of that nature of getting out there on the interwebs, check out DataSeal. They have a great program to help get rid of all those things. Plus, you get a 5% discount when you use our code. Link is in the description and in the comment section. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So, this is, and we talked about this last night a little bit in, as we kind of reacted to this last night as we've discovered this had occurred and on our live. So, I recommend checking that out if you haven't. But, I know a lot of you like the shorter format. So, let's just get into this situation right here. So, this is the motion to compel discovery. Now, we've seen that the defense has requested three supplemental requests for discovery reports because they're not getting any evidence from the prosecution. Let's talk about what that evidence is. So this goes on here to state, comes now Bryan C. Kohberger, by and through his attorney, Ann C. Taylor, public defender, pursuant to Idaho Criminal Rule 16F, hereby moves the court to order its state to comply with defendant's first supplemental request for discovery herein on about February 3rd. So this is when that first one went in there for a request for more discovery. So this is after the initial request of discovery. So on February 3rd, there was the first one. That was the supplemental request. On March 24th, they did a second one. Now we do know that here recently there was a third as well. So the first piece of evidence that they're requesting that the prosecution has not yet handed over is all body cam and dash cam footage from officers involved in the search and arrest of Kohberger in his Pennsylvania home. As of May 4th, counsel has not received this request. Now, here's the big one for me. On number 2, it says Mr. Kohberger requests the order of the state to disclose the following items. In the first, so this goes back to February, request number 49, all lab testing, including photographs, color diagrams, and bench notes, including but not limited to copies of lab reports detailing the forensic evidence collection and analysis of items recovered at Bryan Kohberger's parents' home, trash cans, and other receptacles, and Bryan Kohberger's Hyundai Elantra. As of May 4th, this has not been turned over. This is key evidence that the defense needs to have. Now, I know a lot of people are like, well, they're holding it onto the vest, this, that, and the third. That's not necessarily right, legal, or any of those things. Now, I'm sure that there's a timeline in which the prosecution has to turn over this evidence. However, if they don't turn over this evidence, I mean, this could be a situation for a mistrial, and so and or him not having to go to court. But and if or he ever does get found guilty, he can appeal this, not having the right to properly defend himself. Now, the fact that he hasn't pled guilty or not guilty or any of those things and hasn't had his preliminary hearing leads me to believe that there's a possibility that we're still within that time frame. But how concerned are you guys that the evidence for the vehicle has not yet been turned over? The other thing is too, we also have to realize that when we're looking at these incidences right here, they're referencing things that were taken into custody or picked up by the police or law enforcement agencies in Pennsylvania, right? So is this a situation where it's taken a little bit longer because of the fact that it's a multi-jurisdiction, multi-agency type of operation? And, the Pennsylvania, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania law enforcement just hasn't, given maybe perhaps the results or even turned over the car to Idaho to get tested. I, for one, don't think that that's the case, but is it possible? I guess maybe. What do you guys think, especially about this Elantra? I think this is huge. I don't understand why they're not giving this information out. Maybe perhaps there's a situation like this case isn't as strong as they would have hoped. When you look at the probable cause affidavit, they had phone pings and him operating a vehicle that matched the vehicle that was in the area. and they had his DNA on the sheath. You can tell by the writings of the warrants and also what they wrote in the probable cause affidavit that they expected to find a tremendous amount of evidence after his arrest. Planning of the incident, DNA evidence in his vehicle based on the description of the scene and how messy it was. Probably, more data from his phone and GPS as to his location during the commission of the crime, things of that nature. And so, they're not turning over a lot of this stuff, and I think that's a little bit concerning. So we'll continue. 2A says, request 49, all lab testing, including photographs and color diagrams of bench notes, including but not limited to ISP and FBI forensic lab reports, including but not limited to lab reports 11 and 25. I'm assuming that's probably going to have to do with maybe, I don't know what it is. I don't want to assume anything on that. I don't know what forensic lab evidence could be. 11 and 25. It probably could be, the DNA on the sheath and things of that nature. Let's see. Let's continue. Number 3, also part of the first supplemental request back in February, all notes, recordings from officers from Moscow Police Department. And so that's not from Pennsylvania. There shouldn't be a reason why that the Moscow Police Department wouldn't turn over their recordings and their notes. Now, you guys remember, this is also the same department that withheld body cam footage in the Stickergate situation that ended up putting, having 2 officers that happened to be Nunez and Gunderson, who arrived on scene at this location the day of this incident, who lied under oath in the Stickergate, who we all suspect is possibly or probability the officers that were involved in the Brady Giglio paperwork that was dropped a month or so ago. And so, with that being said, it's not uncommon for this department to withhold evidence. We'll leave it at that. Number 4, all police reports, audio, video evidence, any recorded statements related to Bryan Kohberger's arrest and incarceration in Pennsylvania. So this goes back to Pennsylvania. Number 5, all reports and recordings, and this is part of the defendant's second supplement. All reports, notes, and recordings and photos. Now, I do know that they had a dump of photos and evidence, and I know somebody said in my comment section when I told them, it didn't seem like a lot, and they were like 1,200 photos isn't a lot. It's like, no, it's not. You have photos of, in my opinion, there should be well more than 1,200 photos in one of those bedrooms alone, not just 2 in the entire house that, when it refers to the 1122 King Road residence. You had 2, not necessarily crime scenes, but 2 crime scenes, 2 different rooms where people lost their lives. And you also have a possible trace or trail of where this person exited and entered the residence, meaning you should be documenting all those things. You probably are going to want to take pictures and document also the surviving witnesses, victims, whatever you want to call them, their where they were at, their bedroom, things like that. Not to mention, you're also going to want to photograph everything that you find in the Pennsylvania search, and also in his arrest, and then also the white Hyundai Elantra, all those photographs that go into play, and then also the search of his apartment and his storage room. So all those would require a tremendous amount of photographs. So to just have 1,200 photographs, it's not a lot. It's not a lot for me. I feel like they, since the beginning, they also only distributed one video, CD. Now, whether or not there was multiple files on that video or if it was just one video of, who knows, but there should have been a lot more than that if it's just one. You're looking at witness statements that were taken, that were recorded, dash cam footage. You're looking at cameras that were taken into the house that recorded the scene. There's just so much. And, I find it difficult that there was only one in that situation. And so I think they have a valid case right here. And so number 6, Kohberger, this is a part of the second supplemental request, training records of specific officers. Now, this is probably any officer that had anything to do with this case. They want to ensure that, they were properly trained and have the credentials to be conducting an investigation or be where they were supposed to have been, or have maybe perhaps had the training to conduct the certain specific parts of the investigation that they were a part of. Like, for instance, if you had somebody manning the door and just taking a log, did they have training in doing so? and what log they were supposed to be taking, how detailed that log was supposed to be, time, name of the officer or anybody entering, badge numbers, exit times, things of that nature. And so it can be as as small of a role as just the log person to as large of the role as the investigating officer, and everybody in between. Counsel request this motion be set for a hearing in order to present oral argument, evidence, and or testimonies in support thereof. The requested time is 10 minutes. This is dated 4th day of May. May the 4th be with you on this. Now, when you look at that aspect of it, they're requesting a hearing so that way that the courts can basically go in there and forcibly tell, the prosecution and or maybe perhaps get the prosecution to reveal this evidence once and for all. I find this super sketchy, in my opinion, when it comes to the fact that, the prosecution hasn't turned this over. It kind of makes me feel like maybe the case isn't as strong as they are indicating. I've said it all along, y'all, that when it comes to this situation or with this case, that for me, it falls in on what happened in the Elantra. If there's DNA evidence in the Elantra of one of the victims or multiple of the victims from the scene there, blood DNA, things of that nature, I think it's a solid case and he's done for. If there's nothing in there, I don't think whether he did it or not, I think it's going to be very difficult to prosecute him. Now, with that being said, I don't understand why, the police haven't, or the prosecution hasn't turned this over. We don't know that information. Kohberger and his defense team doesn't know that information, which is insane, in my opinion, as, the defense, claimed to have submitted everything in discovery earlier on this year, and it's clearly not the case. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think. Please hit that like and subscribe button. We're getting super close to 36,000 subs. We're only like 20 something away. Would appreciate it if you consider subscribing, hitting that notification bell. Also, we do members only type of things where it's we do a Friday members only chat, halfway through our live show. We also do member only giveaway where we give away things like this beanie. I'll pull this up. Drunk Turkey Show DTS. We also giving away stickers, tumblers, things of that nature. We also do a members only live where we just answer all your questions. So I would consider you guys hitting that join button if you're not already a member. Hit that subscribe button if you're not already there. Ring that notification bell. That way you're notified of all of our content. That being said, I'm Daniel J. This is the Drunk Turkey Show, and we'll see you guys Monday. Peace.